Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Well Without the BS. My name is Emma Tyler, and I'm so excited to have a very special guest with me here today, my beautiful mother. So I'm so excited to have her and have her introduce a couple things about herself. Well, not just a couple things, but just have her introduce herself, tell us about her interests, hobbies, what she does, and yeah, I'll have her kind of like take it from here.
Okay, I'm Monica Tyler. I'm Emma's mommy, and um,
Hey, mommy.
I'm an elementary school counselor. That's what I do. That's my 9 to 5. I love my job. It's a passion. I also hold an APCC. Hopefully, within the next year and a half, it'll be a fully LPCC, which is Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor, which I'll be doing probably the second half of my life. I see myself continuing to help others, and it's sort of a passion and a thing that it's kind of more than a hobby. It's definitely a passion, something that I research and look into on a daily to see how people live, function, behave, and how I can help them. And what else? You want to know what fun things I do or enjoy doing? I don't know if
Yeah,
they're
you could.
fun, but they're fun to me. I don't know.
Yeah, you could tell us a little bit about the inside scoop on your life, some interesting things that you do.
Well, I enjoy cooking. Let me put that in another way. I enjoy cooking for others. I don't necessarily want to do it all the time, even though I do it often because she likes me to. um, I love to decorate my house for every holiday, almost every holiday, just about every holiday. Right now, it's a little spring bunny Easter theme going on in here. What else? I love to dance. I love the beach. I do like to snorkel. I love to travel. Um, I like wine tasting. I like, what else? Going for long walks and go on a date here and there. So those are some things I enjoy doing. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing with us a little bit about yourself. But I'm really excited to talk with you today about our special topic, I guess. I think I find this topic really interesting, but I feel like I find both of us talking about relationships and, I don't know, just topics about people in general and how they function. But I think that's what you kind of touched on a little bit already. So I'll kind of just like whip out a few questions that I have, and then we can kind of just like bounce off each other, and you can ask me a few questions that you have, if you have any, and then we can kind of just like go from there. But so the main topic of like this podcast is really we're going to talk about attachments and relationships, and what that kind of means or what that might look like in a relationship or maybe even in a friendship, and um, and the different attachment styles as well, and maybe if we've experienced anything like that, and um
It's just our dog if you hear a little noise in the background. Don't worry about that.
um so first off, I guess we could talk about like what are like the different attachment styles, and yeah, we'll just start there. What are the different attachment styles, and I guess what you notice about the different attachment styles, I guess.
Well, in the most simplest way, because there's like, I don't want to get too deep and too complicated, but you can be anxiously attached, you can be secure, or avoidant. Now, there's different types of avoidance and anxiously attached, but just to kind of keep the general and more simpler terms. I think the reason, and I could be wrong, that we tend to talk about this a lot is because I would say that Em and I, or we tend to self-reflect a whole lot, and when we start talking about ourselves and to each other, we tend to go back to like, is it because of how we are, how we live in our life as attached people. So for me, I lean more anxiously attached. And it could be for many reasons. I mean, it could be because of the way I was raised, it could be because of my former relationships that have brought me to this point to lean more anxious when it comes to relationships. And so I think that we spend many hours by now talking about the way we function day in, day out according to our attachment styles. Would you agree?
No, yeah, I definitely agree, and I think I want to point out also that like your attachment styles also don't make like up who you are like as a person. You can definitely evolve out of like these attachment styles the more that you learn about who you are as a person.
Right. And I also want to emphasize that it's not a right or wrong.
Yeah.
You really just have to look at whether or not it's affecting your life in a positive way or in a negative way. And again, I can speak on myself as someone who more or less leans anxiously. And I say leans because as I grow and learn more about myself, I feel myself becoming more secure when it comes to relationships. However, it's not a bad thing to be anxious. It's just that you are aware, and when you become more dysregulated because you're triggered by something, is that you're just self-aware that is this my anxious attachment side talking, or is this just who I am, which is,
Yeah. Like how can you like notice or point out like a secure person? Like what are characteristics or maybe qualities of a person who is more secure, do you think?
well, I would have to say think, or just from reading more than anything, because I'm not 100% securely attached person, but it's someone who has more or less clear boundaries, not necessarily dysregulated or finding discomfort if a person isn't constantly talking to them or texting them or talking to them, or feeling like they need to have some sort of validation from someone. They're kind of already securely and within themselves. Um, and they have, and the thing is the clear boundaries thing. Like, if they find that someone is treating them a certain way, they're very quick to know that that's not a good place for them, and will cut things off.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Um, I think as someone who I couldn't even tell you what I lean more towards. I think I lean in the middle as someone who could be like both.
Both what? Which both? Like
Like
avoidant and anxious, or
yeah, but I think I steer more away from anxious stuff. Like I don't think I'm as anxious.
no? I would agree. I would say that perhaps, and you've gotten a lot better again in conversation and us working within ourselves. We're leaning more towards secure, but I think that you do lean more avoidant.
Yeah. And for all the avoidant haters out there, okay, because I know that they're like on social media, for those who definitely like dive on like their own internal and growth journey. Obviously I've seen like the comments in the comment section about like people being haters on like avoidance and stuff like that, and I'm like, there's no reason to hate on like either attachment style. Like it's kind of it's kind of hard to explain because like I get where there could be hate towards like the avoidant, like you know what I'm saying, but it's like
Well, for those watching that may not understand that, or may not realize that perhaps they're an avoidant, tell me why avoidants are so
like misunderstood.
misunderstood.
I think I think maybe avoidance could be misunderstood because I think we really I'm saying it like I am this, but like I think it's just because I understand
You
the
can slightly
attachment style.
relate, I think.
But like I think it's just as in the avoidant attachment style, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like people long for human connection, and I that's what the attachment style does want. It longs for the connection, but we are afraid of the vulnerability portion of it. And so in some form of our past or like trauma or experience along the road, we were told that vulnerability maybe wasn't okay. So yeah, I think that's the best way that like we can, but it's very hard to communicate those emotions with others. It's like feeling, it literally feels like uncomfortable, like coming out of our skin, literally, like ripping. Yeah,
In the same way the anxious would be when they're not having that validation or that wanting that connection from that person. So it's that pull away, wanting and then pulling away. The anxious being more like I need it, and the avoidant being like further away. However, I want to make sure that we clarify that avoidants want a connection too. I think they just really love their independence and their own person. And so when things start to become too close, and especially if and they tend to attract the anxious, so or anxious to attach the avoidant. So there's that what I just mentioned, that pull and pull away from behavior that's happening. So I think that's why they're so misunderstood. I guess. I mean, I'm not an expert on this. It's just something that I feel like I'm really well read on. However, it's also personal experience.
yeah, no. And so I guess that kind of like follows up to like my next question of like what would be important maybe for either attachment styles to practice to become more secure.
I know that our theme topic is attachment or attachment style, but I don't want people to walk away feeling like they have to know what their attachment is. I think it's more like being more self-aware of what's making you uncomfortable or comfortable in a relationship. So if you're feeling completely uncomfortable because someone is starting to pull away, maybe ask yourself, why am I feeling uncomfortable, and why am I feeling this need to feel like I need to pull them closer even though they're pulling further away? And I'm speaking again on the anxiously side because I'm familiar with that. If you're avoidant, then you might want to ask yourself, like, I really love this person, I really like this person, why am I feeling the needing to escape it for a little bit? Because 9 out of 10 times, and again, there's a couple of different types of avoidance, but I don't want to necessarily focus on all the details of that. But when you're asking yourself that question, ask yourself, how is it that I'm feeling? Because sometimes when you walk away from something and you're away from it long enough, then you start to miss it and want it back. So instead of going through this yo-yo effect for either person, kind of ask yourself, what is the best thing for yourself and helping yourself feel better?
Do you think that an anxious and avoidant person can make their relationship work?
I definitely do, but again, I think it's just your own inner work. Each person has to have a desire to do better. Excuse me, to do better, and to do better for themselves, but know that it's going to help the relationship. Do I think they can? Absolutely. I think anybody that is anxiously or avoidant can become a more secure person.
Okay. So to my next question. Oh my, I have a lot of questions here.
That makes me a little bit.
Okay, well, actually, we kind of went through quite a few, but so what have you learned along your healing journey, and what's been one of the most standout learning lessons?
Oh my goodness.
I know this is a hard one. You can just like, I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
I think it's important. First, I want to say I think it's really important that I do share, because I feel like when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, which can be super uncomfortable, you end up helping someone else. And I can tell you that, during my most toughest situations in life, the one thing that I learned is that that pain will not last forever. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you just have to keep putting one step over the next one. Like, you can't get stuck. And I know it can be easier said than done, but I am living proof. Like, I have felt in very deep, dark places where I felt like I could not breathe or get out of that current situation. But with faith and trust in God, and loved by the people who were caring on me and loving on me at that time and speaking a lot of positivity in me, even though I couldn't see it, they could see it for me. And I trusted in what they said, and that was 3 years from now, you're going to look back and you're not going to be in the same place you are today, and you're going to be in a so much better, healthier place. And that is true. That is really true. And again, it's about everyone helping someone else. I can't, honestly, I did the work, but I didn't do it by myself. I had a lot of great people around me, including Emma, who was a great support. And then I had great friends, and then I had a really good therapist.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you tell us like about like your experience like with therapy, and like if you would ever like suggest it to like others? Like, I know people like have their um they have their mixed opinions about therapy.
I think, well, I'm a little biased because,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're both a little biased.
with that said, in all fairness, I understand why people might be a little bit hesitant. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's a scary thought to walk into someone's office and divulge your most inner, pretty much secrets, and the thoughts that go through your head, you're verbalizing with someone who's helping you process them. And that can feel very intimidating. The other thing is kind of like, how are they going to help me? And oddly enough, they do. If you find a therapist that works for you, and again, you have to seek that, search that, because not every therapist is compatible with who you are. It's just like, if I wanted to strengthen my muscles and do some sort of physique competition, I'm going to hire a personal trainer, a nutritionist, people who know what I need to get through that. It's the same thing, it's the same thing with your heart and mind, as hiring someone that can get you through certain things and break down patterns and past histories, and help you kind of put those pieces of the puzzle together so that it makes sense and you feel a little bit more whole. It's just more like medicine. It's not necessarily a recipe for like a perfect situation. Like, you may go through therapy for a certain scenario, be good, be done with therapy for a while, but you might find yourself returning to therapy again because something else comes up. So it's always a work in progress. So yes, I highly recommend therapy for anybody, all ages.
So I know we kind of went off topic, but were you kind of like done sharing your most valuable learning experience or healing experience?
Well, sort of. I mean, it was just more to kind of just recircle is that it was that you can get through anything.
Like any like it's temporary, like the emotions like are temporary. Is that
Yeah.
like what you're kind of saying?
Yes,
Like
emotions
feeling,
are temporary.
yeah.
This is what I like to say with my kiddos at work. It's like a roller coaster. Emotions are highs and lows, highs and lows. And sometimes you're just going straight and you're good, and all of a sudden you take a dip and then you go up high again. So it's never linear, and if it is, it's just for a short time because we're constantly evolving and changing and things are happening to us, with us, around us all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very well said. I will say, because I feel like I'm someone who like definitely experiences like all of their emotions and everything at once, and like that's like something like I don't know. I think it's like the movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't think you have you seen that? I don't think so. We should watch it. It's chaotic. I'm not gonna lie. It's a chaotic movie, but I don't even think I got through it.
I Is it okay if I share something?
Yeah.
I can recall, and Emma knows this story, and because I bring it up a lot because I look at patterns. I look at behavioral patterns in people, and including myself and Emma for as long as I've known her, and she's gotten 100% way better at this. But um, no, it's nothing to be scared of. But every time Emma came around testing time when she was in school, whether it was like semester testing in high school, and then even in college, she'd go through a little panic, like overwhelming. I can't handle this. It's just a lot.
Okay, wait, but before you say this, because I know what you're gonna talk about, if anyone that like watches this, well, honestly, I'm gonna probably like turn this into a short clip, but like anyone that watches this and like has been like super close to me or like went to school with me or like has seen me during testing time and like went to college with me, they can probably attest to this because if you've seen me during testing time, like I look like the most stressed out person ever. And I mean, I definitely got better like later in my college years because like I knew that there was something that like needed to change. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of touch more on that, but
Well, it just goes to show, like my whole point in that is that as time has evolved and you have grown and matured and you become more self-aware, you've learned about yourself that you've put yourself through such, I don't want to say torture, but you were kind of torturing yourself at this time. And the people around you, including myself, felt it, and or I try to help you through that and remind you that you're gonna get through this. It's going to pass, and then you're gonna reflect, and you're gonna be like, "Why did I put myself through that?" Um, so it was just more of an example of how in life we go through things and we look back and we're like, we did it. We got through it. And in the end, we're actually more successful because we learned from that.
yeah, I don't know. Every time like testing came around, like finals or something, like I acted like it was the end of the world. Like I was literally going to like die. And I don't know I don't know why I was acting like that. Like, and then all of a sudden something kind of like clicked. And I don't know if you've ever seen like those pictures or those memes, but it's like a picture of like the planet or whatever. It's like a picture of the beach. And then it's literally the same exact picture. And it's like life if someone talks shit about you, life if someone life I don't even know. Like life if someone talks shit about you, life if someone talks shit about you. Literally the same exact picture. It's the same thing. And so I'm like literally like if life is gonna be okay either way. Like the world keeps spinning, the world keeps going, like life goes on. And I don't know, something finally just clicked one day and I was like, why am I tripping so fucking hard Like, I don't know.
But I get it. And you probably, even though you're fully aware of that now and you've learned to handle certain stresses better, you never know. Like, we might circle back to that situation again with something that comes up in life. I find that sometimes I repeat patterns that I feel like I had broken, and it's okay. We keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I guess that kind of goes into the next thing that I was gonna ask because um I was going to ask, what do you think was one of the biggest lessons slash cycles you had to break?
Can you repeat that again?
I said, what was one of the biggest lessons or cycles that you had to break?
Um, that's tough. That's a tough question because um, I think it's kind of like self sabotage. Not think, it is self sabotage.
Okay, well, before you answer the question, like, okay, you know that guy that I made you watch, Leo Skeppy? Okay, because he made an interesting point about like patterns and cycles, but I don't know if you believe this to be true, but he kind of made a point about like us wanting to, be better in life, like have like, larger things in life, whatever, but we almost like repeat like the same cycles just like with different things, if that makes sense.
I agree. We tend to do that. I mean, we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
We do what's familiar and comfortable. So, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think people are who they are fundamentally. I think people can alter, change if they truly, truly to the core want to and desire to, and hopefully it's to be better. So.
Okay, so now back to my question about your cycles.
I thought we were going to avoid that. Going there. Self sabotage, and what I mean by that is like, because we're creatures of habit and tend to lean towards things that are comfortable or familiar. I like it there. It's like a safe space for me. And sometimes, in order for me to evolve, I have to get uncomfortable, and I'll self sabotage something just to go back to what's comfortable. I'll try to figure out a way to avoid doing, and I've done this a long time, like as far as back as I can remember. It's like I'll know something is good for me, but it's so scary and uncomfortable that I'll self sabotage in some way, or I convince myself that it's not good for me because I'm afraid of failing, or afraid of the unknown or what's going to happen, or so that has always been a work in progress for me. And it's not until I'm in my most uncomfortable space and I push through it that I realize that it was worth it. But sometimes it's a battle within myself, and usually it's just really about myself. And I will sabotage something because of my own insecurities, my own pressures, my own fears.
I feel like that's completely normal, though. I can definitely relate to that as well.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, but that is definitely something that is that I find myself circling back around a lot, and spend a lot of time thinking about. Like, I feel like my brain is constantly on.
I feel you, girl. I feel you.
Sometimes I just want to shut it off and rest for a minute.
Girl, you're telling me about shutting your brain off.
What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was about you. Oh,
It's a hard question. That's why.
yeah, I know it is a really hard question. Um, yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to just like take yours because I do think that I self.
I mean, yours might be
from a different perspective. I don't know.
No, I do think that I definitely self-sabotage. I self-sabotage for sure. I'm trying to think, but I do think that there are things that like I will catch myself going back to, but I think this might sound like a little bit odd, but I feel like one thing I always go back to is like doubting myself, my self doubt. And I think this doing what I'm doing now is helping me a lot to really get out of like my comfort zone and like learning like a lot. And I think I've always known that about myself is like how much like doubt I have sometimes. There's certain areas that I'm really confident in, and there's some areas where I like don't feel so confident in. Um,
No, I do want to say that one thing that I've noticed that you do that I think is really, in my opinion, really good, or you do it well, is that when someone is sharing a challenge with you, you have a way of thinking about it in a compassionate way, but in a very logical way, which can be good. You don't necessarily turn it around and make it about yourself, or you don't take what they're giving you and turn it into like, well, this is how it makes you feel. So then it becomes like you take your own feelings and thoughts personal into what they're feeling. And I
I
think
definitely feel like I've had moments where like, I mean, I don't know if that like this is the same, but I definitely do try to like connect with the person and like be like, I've experienced this or like been where you at, and like try to relate and like share like an experience or an example. So I don't know if that's like
no, yes, if you relate, but if you necessarily don't relate, you still have a very logical way because you're very direct. And sometimes for some people, they don't know how to receive that. And they might take it personal, but I appreciate it because I think that sometimes people need to hear the truth, and not necessarily always sugarcoat something. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think that's definitely my directness and my honesty definitely can be misunderstood sometimes. But I think all in all, I just for the people that are closest to me, and I've definitely had conversations with my like closest friends about this. Whenever they're going through something, sometimes I'm not always the first person that they come to because they're not ready to hear what I have to say. Because they know that I'm going to tell them the truth. And sometimes they're not ready to hear that. So that's all I got to say.
Sometimes I'm not ready, but I'm always willing.
Yeah. And you see, that's what is really um it's hard for me too because it's an internal battle for me because
What do you mean?
I feel like it's an internal battle because I feel like I'm a very honest person, and I feel like I can't like just like lie to myself. You know what I'm saying? About certain things or situations or like to others. So for I don't mean for this like to come out like wrong, but for people who are not ready to look within themselves yet, they may not be ready to be honest with themselves.
True. True. But I think as a life coach or myself as a therapist, we have to learn to connect with those people so that they feel safe and into a place to where they can.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just I'm just saying me personally, I think that like I just can't. I wouldn't be able to have that experience personally with myself because I just can't lie to myself.
Yeah,
It was too hard. Yeah. So, but do you have any other questions? What? Why are you laughing?
Cause something just popped into my head. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should say it or not.
I mean, I know it's just like kind of,
Well, you said not lie to myself.
yeah,
You may not lie to yourself, and you're prepared to hear the truth too, because
yeah,
you will go around something because you don't want to really necessarily deal with it.
So you're saying like avoid?
Yeah, so I guess circle back to the attachment thing. You are avoidant of things,
I avoid, but I know the truth.
but you will convince yourself or like talk yourself through it so that you can avoid it.
But I still know the truth. But I mean, yes. But I feel like because I am, it's like I will deal with it when I'm ready to. I know the truth, but I'll deal with it when I'm ready to. But I've gotten better to face it head on, um, better, if that makes sense. Like I've been able to deal with my feelings a little bit better than I previously would in the past. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that I have those parts still, those tendencies where I would want to avoid or just be like, "Oh my god," but I still think I know the truth, but it's like let me just take a second. Let me
sit on this.
sit on it. Let me process it. Let me maybe
Journal
Do
about
you
it.
think you do that because it makes you uncomfortable?
yeah. I think it makes me really yeah, it does make me uncomfortable.
And for those, just so they can have a more understanding, what does uncomfortable look like for you? Like in your body?
It just like it sometimes feels like anxiety.
Okay, so let me give you an example. When I'm anxious or dysregulated, my stomach will hurt. My breathing is a little more short. My temperament is heightened. I tend to, and I got this from my girlfriend, Miss Renee Weber, leak a lot of air. So I'll do a lot of, a lot of,
Yeah, I noticed you do that a lot.
and and for two reasons. One, it does help regulate, it slows my heart rate down, and it calms me. But it's you can see it's visceral. You can see that it's happening.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What's going on?" And we'll be like, "What's going on over there?"
Sometimes I don't even like I see it, but sometimes I don't even know if I want to ask.
You're
I'm not gonna
you're avoiding it.
Yes, I'm avoiding it. There's many times where I see it, I'm just like, I don't know if I even want to ask because the conversation makes me uncomfortable. Like I'm like, oh gosh, like she looks like she's dealing with something.
And here's the prime example of anxiously attached and avoidant. Because this is where like I would want her to be like, "How can I help? Let me help you." She's like, "Let me get the fuck out of here." Like I don't
Well, because you're
because
like,
she might go off on me
Yes.
and I get that. I really do understand that. I do. But again, I'm more like, and I'll verbally say sometimes, like this morning, I'll verbally say like what is bothering me, and she would rather walk away and just let me be. She thinks that letting me, and in that case, I will come to and I'll be okay. But just to give you an example, is that I would prefer if and I can't expect it because again, it makes her uncomfortable. But is as if she was like, okay, let me help. Let me, you know what? I'll do better. Like, let me put the dishes away. Let me sweep this dusty ass, crusty floor that I helped
Oh,
create this mess.
okay, I'm not even gonna argue right now. I'm not even gonna argue right now. Well, thank you so much for listening and joining in for today's podcast and talking with us about attachments, attachment styles, relationships, and all of the above. I am so glad that we got to do this today, and I'm looking forward to having her on many more podcast episodes and talk about behaviors, relationships, patterns, cycles, lessons, and so much more. But thank you again, and I will see you guys on another podcast episode. Bye.